Free gear removal. Awesome. Everyone is celebrating it like Plarium just did us the biggest favor ever. And I just don't trust it. Because whenever something gets universal praise, there's usually a catch. We've seen it before. In fact, we see it all the time in the real world. Critics rave about a movie, the audience nukes it. The governments promise a quick fix, and there's usually a tax hike waiting around the corner. And remember 2020 and 2021? Yeah, so if history does teach us anything, it's usually that if something seems too good to be true, then someone's probably found a way of cashing in on it. And do we really think that Plarium are just gonna give up one of their streams of revenue? Because let's not forget, they sell us silver for real life money. But what do I know? I'm not an economist. So now that I'm an economist, hi everyone and welcome back for another video. If you haven't guessed, we're going to talk about why I'm suspicious of the new free gear removal and why I think it might not be all it is hyped up to be. Because, I don't know, I just don't trust it. I just can't help but feel that we are lulled into thinking that something is really good and we're just going to get burned elsewhere. But guys, before we move ahead, just to let you know, there will be a promo link written down in the pinned comment as well as the description of this video. If you're looking to try the free-to-play life, maybe you just want to recommend Raid to a friend, it's going to get you off to a solid head start with the likes of Elenaril, Fayne and Tagoar as you level up your account. And if you want that, just follow these instructions. You'll want to log out of Plarium Play on your PC and uninstall the game. Click the link in the description, register with a brand new email address, log in, complete your tutorial, go to your inbox and claim your first free champion. Like I say, this is a good one. You don't want to miss out. Just click below and get started today. So what is the function of silver in Raid Shadow Legends? Very simple. It's kind of like the undercurrent currency that runs through absolutely everything that we do in the game. If you want to pull shards, well, look, it's going to cost you silver. If you want to pull soul stones, it's going to cost you silver. If you want to upgrade your artifacts and your accessories, silver. If you want to buy something in the market, silver. It is just kind of ever present in everything that we do in Raid. And actually, I've always found it a little bit surprising that people struggle with silver so much. I actually did a video on how to manage your silver right when I first started my channel. And I just can't understand why everyone is broke, other than the fact that I think everyone is just trying to do too much all the time and arguably probably making some mistakes about where they are throwing their silver. But that is by the by. Let's talk about why I think this might actually be a disaster waiting to happen. So I think one of the biggest silver sinks that we had until literally this week was that if you decided that you weren't happy with one of your champion builds, or you got a new better bit of gear, then depending on the rarity and all of that, it would essentially cost you quite a lot of money to rebuild a champion. Now, this went on since basically the beginning of Raid, and really liked their solution to it. And no solution is perfect by any means, but when they introduced gear removal tokens, which now I can see we no longer have any in our inbox, when they introduced that, I thought it was a very fair way of saying, look, hey, you get your hour a day, and in that hour you can focus on like faction wars builds, all of that good stuff. And that essentially was the byproduct of the fact that they introduced free gear removal for a couple of days around about the midpoint of every Cursed City rotation. And then, probably haven't quite got this right, but let's just say about 6 or so weeks ago, they decided to just give us a full 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks, of free gear removal. And that was really cool. I do honestly think it brought a lot of engagement back into the game, because I think once the sort of burden was lifted of having to pay copious amounts of silver to change all your champion builds, this actually was ahead of Faction Wars Hard. I think it brought a lot of people back and they went, hey, you know what? I actually like this. So I am going to stand on the hill and say I like free gear removal. But I also have to sit here and say, but at what cost? Let's use a real world example, and that might sort of clarify why I'm a little bit hesitant when it comes to something being free. Let's say, so I'm in England, let's say the British government go around and they go, you know what, we want people driving, we want absolutely everyone to get the buses and trains everywhere, and as a result of that, everyone's bus and train travel is now free. Awesome, absolutely great. Travel in this country is insanely expensive. Now, you might think, well, thanks for that, that's that done then. No, it's not, because nothing is free, and ultimately this money is going to have to come from somewhere. So maybe indirectly, and they won't even tell us that they're doing this, we'll just see little hikes across the board in other things. Like maybe your council tax will go up. Maybe they just flat increase tax per bracket, per owner in the UK. Maybe that's just how they do it. But my point is, nothing is free. You know, we had another one recently, which is free school meals for children in schools. Wicked. Who doesn't want to get on board with that? But then you realize it's not free. We've got the NHS. Free healthcare? I don't think so, because it just gets garnished from our wages and we get taxed into oblivion on it. So why do we think that Raid is actually going to be any different? So where do I think this is going to hit us the hardest? The obvious choice to me actually seems like it's going to be in the market. Now, we were told in some patch notes quite a while ago now that they were going to make huge changes to the market. And we did get some changes to the market. They essentially just introduced the clan shop, the token trader, the bazaar, and the altar of souls into the market so that now we can just navigate everything in one place. I wouldn't really say that was a huge change, but they did finally allow us to buy better gear. Usually you'd go in and there'd be a bunch of uncommon stuff. It was never worth buying. I don't really see a scenario where you'd buy any of it, but they did change this and they allowed us to buy, well, decent-ish gear sets in higher quality and higher rarity. Very, very cool. And you know what? They're not cheap, and that's okay. I don't think they should be cheap. At the end of the day, if you find a good 6-star Savage pair of gloves in here, that might save you, I don't know, 500 dungeon runs to get that exact same pair. With RNG, it gets a little bit sketchy, but at the end of the day, the fact that we got given the option was really, really solid. Now, if one thing didn't change, it was the ability to buy shards. So every time the market refreshes, which is once an hour, we get the option to buy mystery shards. They are 5,000 silver a pop. Lovely. Every time I see one, I will buy one, because it might help you just break through a summon rush event if you can't be bothered to spend your more precious resources. Now, what we also get every month is the option to buy 5 ancient shards. Now, these are, I believe, 200,000 silver a pop. There is a cap of 5 a month, and they will just appear randomly throughout the month. Very, very cool. Now, what we don't yet have, and that's where I think this might be going, is we do not have the ability to buy void shards, sacred shards, or primal shards. And there's probably good reason for that too. But as I said in the very beginning of this video, we used to have issues with silver, and Plarium cashed in by selling us silver packs. Now, I'm not at Plarium. I'm not in their department where they work out what to sell us next. But I imagine it might not be their biggest revenue stream, but it is a revenue stream nonetheless. So if they've just taken away our main silver sink, it's almost like they've just said to everyone, right, your rent is free now. And it's like, okay, that's cool. Free rent. That sounds good. That's like more Starbucks, more, more outings. Sounds really good. But I just can't believe that a company like and let's be honest, they know how to sell us stuff. Like, the amount of money people spend in this game is absolutely unreal. They know what they're doing. So I don't believe anything is free. So maybe what I think we might see soon is maybe we will see the ability to buy void shards every month in the shop. Maybe they're going to come in at like 1.5 million silver per shard. It is possible. And let's say you get 2 a month or 3 a month or something like that. Maybe they bring in sacred shards, and maybe they charge you 10 million a month for your one. Maybe they do it with primals, maybe 5 million and you can buy 2. I don't know. This is only speculation. But all I can do is look at real world examples and think, yeah, we're so getting that. And what I think is going to happen is we're going to start to see a creep in prices. Now, maybe they don't change the price of mystery shards, but imagine if they went from 5,000 to 10,000. Imagine if your ancient shards went from 200,000 to 500,000. I don't think it will happen overnight, but like with any currency, there is this thing that is called inflation. And what they've essentially just done is made silver completely useless. It's like when a government prints money to get you out of debt and it just creates more debt. It's literally the same thing. And, maybe these items of gear that, like the worthy ones, the ones that are actually worth buying, maybe they go from 1.1 million to 2 million. And maybe some of the really good ones that are like 7 million, maybe they go to 10 million. So, you know, where else might this hit? The obvious one for me is a gear enhancement event. What if they, you know, subtly start changing the parameters for the rewards? Right now, because we're Fusion, we got the Donatello fragment at 4775. This is quite common through any sort of artifact enhancement during a fusion. It's usually the sort of 8th out of 10th reward, usually around this mark. But if more people are going to have more silver, then why wouldn't Plarium up the ante for events? So I think kind of before we go celebrating and go, wow, Plarium's just done us a really good thing, ask what comes next, because I don't trust it. Because if I was, you know, me holier than thou sat here in my suit talking to you on the internet, if I am making, let's say, £100,000 a month on selling silver in raid, okay, I might be making 2 million a month selling shards and, I don't know, 10 million a month selling soul stones, but I'm not just going to let that 100 grand go. That is not business, and I'm pretty sure Plarium know business better than we do. So on the surface, free gear removal just does seem awesome, but like I say, call it paranoia, call it just paying attention. I just don't think it is what it is, and I think right now we should enjoy the mountains of silver that we could potentially accumulate during this time. For me personally, I actually thought the free gear removal, the once a month during Curse City, as well as the tokens that we were getting as Curse City rewards and even daily rewards, I think that was good enough. Like I say, this is all speculation. I'm not at Plarium. I don't know what's coming next, but it all feels like it's part of a plan to just up the price of everything. And I just hope that that doesn't become inclusive of upping the price of things that we spend real life money for in the game. So, not to be miserable, I'm actually quite happy about how everything's gone. I'm just incredibly curious to see what happens next. So if you liked this video, I know it's a little bit different from the things that I normally do, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you've got any thoughts, like where do you think they're going to burn our silver? Because they're going to. They just have to. See you on the next one.